paying the most attention to what you have in front of you is the most important. And if you have a little bit of time, thinking about what's next is also important.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of people work so hard to get there, and then when they're there, they keep going, and then the whole thing falls apart. The common thing we hear about is the younger generation doesn't want to work as hard. They don't want to put in their time. I don't know if I buy it or not. The simplest piece of business advice in any area is just be great. The majority of people are not. I think a lot of people spend 99% on their craft. And the craft only gets you so far. It's like the reason most restaurants fail is because they're run by great chefs. And the reason most hair salons fail is because they're run by great barbers.
Hi there. Welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. In this episode, I had a discussion with Abby Tobias, founder of Soul Power Production. He founded Soul Power Production 20 years ago from his mother's basement in Thornhill, Ontario. Today, Soul Power Production is Toronto's premier entertainment and production company. Soul Power delivers multifaceted services and a state-of-art design from a concept to completion. With over 500 professionals, it executes over 2,500 events annually, including high-profile clients like a Drake based in Toronto, serving all major cities across Canada and the US. Abby serves as a jury member for Canadian Event Awards and previously partnered at a 6 Degree Club. Now, we had a discussion around the various different topics around the business development, business growth, and scaling a company, and some of the challenges that every industry faces. The entertainment industry looks so glamorous from a distance, but from our discussion, you will see that how much hard work it takes to build a company in that industry as well. Now, if you find value in this discussion, please subscribe, share, and comments below. We are working hard to bring you conversations with the business owners, coaches, consultants to help you build and grow your company. Your support and feedback keeps us delivering great value in every episode. So again, thank you for your time. Until next time, please welcome Abby Tobias. Hi guys, welcome to Business Leadership Podcast. Today our guest is Abby Tobias. Abby, your side of entertainment, productions, events, there's so much to learn from your industries. I know a lot of things change over the last few years, I take it. So we're looking forward to a discussion, looking forward to learning from you. Thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No worries. So if you walk us through what's a Soul Power Production is about, how long have you been running this business?
It's 23, almost 24 years old.
Wow.
Started in December of 22. And we are ultimately an events company specializing in entertainment and production. So, we're sort of a hybrid. Most of our, competitors or people in our field would be one of the two. And so people would hire us for a corporate event, a social event, a concert, a sporting event, where we would supply either or both of your production needs. So speakers, lights, stages, power, microphones, that kind of side.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the entertainment side, performers, live music, DJs, hosts, and in a perfect world, we would supply both.
Got it. And you do a lot of sporting events, I take it, right? Raptors or NHL or all those events?
Yeah. We do a significant amount of work with the Blue Jays. They're one of our favorite and most trusted clients. We do some work with Maple Leaf Sports as well for the Raptors and the Maple Leafs. But we supply a significant amount of in-game entertainment, in-game activations, promotional work, some production work with the Blue Jays as well. And that's all sort of uniquely curated with our team and the wonderful in-house team over at the Blue Jays. I'm wearing Blue Jays today, actually. Look at that.
Nice.
It's like I knew you were going to bring it up.
Yeah, good stuff. So is it only Ontario-based events or nationwide or some in the US as well? How big is the footprint?
Yeah, it's international, but 90% is Ontario. So, we will travel. Right now, we're traveling a few times a year for primarily large scale social events internationally. So, the US, some in Europe, and it's an area that we're actively discussing about expanding in.
Mm-hmm.
We feel like we've really cornered the market as the premier player in Ontario and in Canada, but we're interested in what the rest of the world may look like.
Got it. How's been for last? I know COVID kind of slowed down a little bit. Early on the corporate event side of things. How's been since the COVID's gone? How's the market's been?
COVID was a blessing for us. Like, you hate to say it, but one, like the step away was a really nice pause and refresher, I think, for all of us in a business that is very much 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It was nice to just have a big pause.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming out of it, we kind of were in a unique situation where we were forced to rebuild it, and we rebuilt it slightly differently. And thus far, knock on wood, I think I have a much stronger, more focused business. And the business has been great. I mean, coming out of COVID, the year out of COVID was the best year we've ever had, which I think a lot of industries had, but we were sort of playing the catch up game. And now that it's normalized, I think just, ultimately we're right back to where we were, but we have a better product. We're better functionality wise. I think we have a stronger team. We have a better headquarters. So a lot of good things came from COVID.
Because sporting events didn't slow down even in a COVID, right? It was just a corporate side of things a little bit slowed down, I take it, right?
Sports did slow down for us because there wasn't any fans in the stands for most of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And most of our business is based on fans being there. So we did a little bit, like with the Blue Jays, we did some virtual national anthems for them. We assisted in any way we could, but it was obviously new territory for us. It was new territory for them. But all of the, we have a significant amount of people in the stadium for every game to entertain the fans as they move about throughout the stadium. And so that obviously wasn't there. But to your point, there was still some, and on the corporate and social side, there's times it went to zero.
Got it. Okay, so let's talk about business side of things, Abby. You've been doing it for a while now. So you guys are one of the premier in this area. In a service side. What do you saw some of the challenges over the few years in terms from a business standpoint? Whether is I know a lot of businesses I talk to, they talk about finding the right talent is one of the challenge, right? So it could be just economy. So what are some of the your experience been that you saw some of the challenges in your side?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything unique about our business. I tell this to our staff all the time. I think our challenges are the same as people who are, manufacturing construction boots or accounting firms or, anything else. For sure, talent, like, having great staff, both on the administrative and like sort of in office side, and obviously talent as the way we use the word talent
Mm-hmm.
with, performers, but, keeping staff happy, keeping them motivated, not spending more than you're making, making intelligent purchases, using your time wisely. All those challenges are the same. I don't think my business is one bit unique.
Mm-hmm.
And the only maybe unique part is I'm often telling people that it's not unique, because I think our staff tend to think that
Yeah.
certain principles don't apply because what we do is different, but ultimately it's the same. And I've said for many, many years that I work in the entertainment business, and 99% of that is business and 1% of it is entertainment.
Mm. But there's
So
a lot of upfront investment in your part. Every time there's events, there's a lot of upfront investment that you cause cash flow issues.
It doesn't have to be. In our case, there is. We tend to have a philosophy that we like to own the equipment that we use.
Yeah.
So the bulk of the events that we work at, we're using equipment that we've purchased. So, there could be a piece of equipment that costs $100, or there could be a piece of equipment that costs several $100,000. So in our case, there is an upfront cost, but we find that when you amortize that over making wise investments, that it pays for itself. There are other people in our space who don't purchase anything,
Mm-hmm.
and don't own equipment, don't necessarily have staff, and just outsource everything. And obviously they have much thinner margins, but they don't have any upfront costs. And so I don't know. I actually don't know which one is better, because as we've scaled over the years, you'd have to consistently rework that algorithm. But since we've started, that's kind of been my philosophy. So the majority of the people who work for us are a part of our family, and the majority of the equipment that we use is equipment that we own, outside of unique scenarios. So it's relative. This is the time of year we're sort of in our off season right now, so I'm getting quite a few invoices from my various departments about things that need to be purchased to get us ready for the busy time.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll spend several hundreds of thousands for sure, and that stuff. There's some resale value on some of it. Some of it you use until it dies. Some of it might be one-time use, like you're buying something for a particular event and never using it again. So it's a bit of a, business Tetris.
Mhm. But if you don't control the infrastructure in other businesses, Abby, or you don't control the equipment, can you still control the quality of the service? You're dependent on other parties too for the equipment.
Yeah, look, I think there's a model where it works. Again, it's not our model, but I've seen other businesses where they have 2 or 3 suppliers. They're trusted suppliers. Maybe as an example, if you need 10 pieces of equipment, you rent 12, so you have a couple spares. You establish good relationships. You negotiate good pricing. But I think it can work. Again, it's not the model that I chose, but I have a big warehouse full of equipment and warehouse staff and trucks and a lot of liability and a lot of insurance and a lot of peripheral consumable items that are used and thrown away, like batteries and tape and
Mm,
that lots of tools and that kind of stuff. So I think our method works for us, but I don't think it's the only path.
got it. So I think one thing common, you work with a lot of younger people. I'm assuming that like that's the
Yeah.
talent pool you work with, and I work with a lot of technology side, a lot of younger people as well. Where you find what these younger people are looking for, to instead of trying to keep them in a position for a long time, I'm sure they're looking to you for to be inspired and be motivated. So, what anything common you find that these people are looking for? What changed over the last few years? Olden days people used to follow. You tell them, "Hey, this I want you to do this," people will follow it. And these days, they're looking for a lot more than simply just instructions from a business owners, right? What are your thoughts on what they're looking for?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. We hear a lot about, like, the common thing we hear about is the younger generation doesn't want to work as hard. They don't want to put in their time. I don't know if I buy it or not. Like, maybe that's the case. I don't know. I think, like, you have to motivate them. And I think in our case, because we do have a lot of younger people, I have people who have maybe never had another sort of real job or have
Mhm.
maybe had one or two. But so I find we have to teach them a lot about just this is the way the world works. I find I'm constantly saying, I know this doesn't sound fair, but it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And I think, one of the things I keep trying to do better for myself is I often just in the heat of being busy and having a gazillion things to do, just say, like, this is the way it is. Trust me. When really what I should be doing is explaining and nurturing and guiding them so that they understand why this is what it is. But I would say our best youthful staff are the ones that are open to learning and just recognizing that they don't know it all. I deal with a lot of, like, everybody I work with knows everything.
Mhm.
And so, which is a good and a bad thing. It's not all bad. There's a nice confidence in that. But I find I'm definitely, we're also, like, really interested in taking people who are good at one thing and seeing if we can shape them into something else. And so
Mhm.
because of that, opening their eyes to other sides of the coin is key. And I find a lot when staff make it a number of years, they always say to me, oh, 2-3 years ago, I really thought I knew everything, and now I know it all. And I say, just wait for 2 or 3 years from now.
Yeah.
So I deal with that a lot, but not in a really bad way. Again, I think there's a certain bravado and
Yeah.
puffing of the chest that our people have, which is not, like, bad. They're smart and talented.
A couple of things I find is one is they're not looking for a job, they're looking for a career. If you can show them that, hey, listen, you can start here, but there's a few steps to
Absolutely,
go to, that's that they're very interested in that. That's kudos to them.
absolutely.
That's great. The second
Yeah.
thing is they're looking for somebody also working hard. Show them as an example instead of just simply giving them instructions. I think, as you mentioned, that you grinding on a daily basis, that's a perfect example for them, so they're gonna follow it. So those couple of things I think wasn't there a few years ago, but now that's what the younger generation is looking for.
Yeah, I think your point about people looking for careers, not jobs. I hear that a lot, which I don't recall hearing, forever ago. Um, so that I do think that's interesting. And yeah, I think, like, um, interesting for me, like, I've always said I want to have great people, and I have a lot of people who've been with me for a long time, and I think that speaks to, like, we have a good business, a good company. I think we treat people really well. I think it's an interesting and exciting industry, but I'm not interested in having, like, to rehire new people every 2-3 years. Every hire I make, every single one, I tell them, this is a hire for life. I'm hiring you for life. And if it doesn't work out that way, which of course in most cases it doesn't make it a failure. But my position is I hire you and I want you to stay here forever and grow and raise a family off of how you do here. And
Mhm.
we have a lot of that. I have a lot of people who are 20 years, 15 years, plus 10 years. And I have people started when they were just out of high school. That's a really important piece to me. And I like to say that I can prove it to them in terms of letting them continue to grow and have more responsibility, sort of steer their own ship, obviously earn a better living. But it's it's the constant challenge. If you don't have the stomach for it, being an entrepreneur isn't for you, because you do have to say the same thing on repeat and re-explain the same thing to everybody. But that's okay. They're entitled to that.
I think this is an area a lot of hard work comes in. A lot of people don't understand what it takes to manage the team.
Yeah.
Especially younger people, you gotta have an energy to match their energy ongoing basis. It takes a lot. So I was gonna ask you, so one, how big is the team? The second, were you always good at people side of things in a business, or this is a skill set you have to pick it up later on?
Good question. The team is 26 full time. I'm about to hire the 27th next week. And then contractors, we have we have hundreds, but I would say probably, I don't know, maybe 70 to 80 that are consistently, like, they work for us. They're not employees, but they work for us virtually exclusively.
Got it. Okay.
So it's about 100 people that are just constantly in our orbit, and then several hundred of ones that come and go. And then in terms of being able to work well with people, yeah, I would say that's probably one of the few things that I've always been good at. I think I have a genuine appreciation for people and their time and their effort. I recognize that in our business, it's not 9 to 5, that we're pulling people away from their families and their kids and special occasions and nights out. And I think you have to genuinely appreciate that. And I think it goes hand in hand that I'm not overly motivated by money. And I think it's hard to really appreciate people and be driven by how much money you put in your pocket. So I think if you do well in business, naturally you earn money. That just comes with it. It's hand in hand. And I'm not saying I don't like it. I like money just like everyone else does, but I'm not driven by it. I'm driven by the success of my business and the success of everybody else in it. And I genuinely want to see other people do well here. Obviously I want to see them do well if they're not here too, but specifically with our people here, if we can find a lane where you can be successful here and grow and do well, I'm like your biggest cheerleader. And I think most of my staff would say that. The people who don't feel that way, candidly, probably are the weaker of the staff. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, if you're listening, but I think for the majority, I think there is a path, and I want them to be on the path that they want to be.
And those are the people you want to be around them. You want those are the people you want to be around.
I have some people who are not interested in growth and just want something comfortable and know what they're getting into and know how much they're making and know what their responsibilities are. And I'm all for that. I think you need to have a variety of, level of dreamer. And I have some who are like, they dream big. They want to conquer the world tomorrow. And I think that's great. And I think I have some people who are very comfortable. And I think a successful business probably needs a certain amount of both of those. Yeah. And my goal is to give that person what they want. Of course, it has to align with the company's wants and needs. And it's when it doesn't align that sometimes you have to part ways. But I do think I've always been good at that because it's always been in my nature to be fair. I think if you want to be fair, then there's ways to navigate to do so.
Yeah, but
ultimately, if you just want to make the most amount of money, you're going to have a lot of people come and go, and you're going to have a lot of people who don't speak kindly of you.
Yeah,
even if you're a good person, and listen, some people are solely motivated by money because they have to, like the business earns X amount and they need X amount to survive, and I get it.
And you mentioned those few people, the dreamer, then they have a goals what they want to achieve. So if you simply set these people in the right way and get out of the way, they will do wonders for your business. I know people don't have a lot of those in a business, but if you find a handful of those people, simply give them what needs to be done and just give them instructions and just get out of the way. They go out of the way to help you achieve whatever you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, I just told somebody the other day, I said, you want me to ask you to do things. So in the moment, it might seem like a burden, or it's like, oh, this isn't my job. But if I'm asking you, it's because I trust you, I respect you, and I think you can do it. And think to yourself, why is he asking me versus the next person? And I have some people who I'm calling up on a Sunday morning at 9 a.m. and saying, come over to the house for a coffee. We got to talk about something because something came up, or a strategy or an idea. And it's like, and they get it and they're there and they want to be there and they want to be in the room. One of my biggest problems is most of my people want to be at the table. And the table is only so big. It's a good problem to have, but they have a lot of people who are very passionate about the company and the success, and that makes for heated debates and arguments, and it's and gray hairs, but it all comes from a place of wanting the company to be successful.
Well, entertainment naturally connects people, right, and bring people on the same table, as you mentioned, right? So, by nature, entertainment is supposed to bring people on the same level. So, I think that's probably the benefit in your industry is that you in being in the business, you have that it will bring people together, whether it's
Yeah,
music,
look,
whether it's any entertainment.
we're in the business of making people happy. It's a wonderful way to spend every day. Sometimes I think we forget about that, but we're celebrating with people at some of their highest moments in life, and to be able to do that week in and week out, you sometimes forget, like, oh, this is really special. We're not in, we're not working in a hospital, or underground in a tunnel. Like, we're very lucky to be doing what we're doing, and we shouldn't have to have less because of that. But it's certainly a nice perk.
Hmm. What does opportunity looks like in your business, Abby?
Opportunity moving forward.
Yeah, what is opportunity? What is the potential of
Yeah,
what you're building?
yeah. Scale, I think, is important, and so we've scaled really intelligently over the years. I do think we're the biggest player in our space. Um,
So
for
scaling
sure.
means simply doing more of the same, or is that
Well,
going a different direction and scaling?
yeah, like, so for instance, the piece that we're speaking a lot about these days is how much time and investment do we want to make into being international, and what are the pros and cons. I had a meeting with our senior music director today, talking about, you know, do we want to be doing 15 events a year in Europe, and
Hmm.
what does that look like? Because at first comment, it sounds exciting, but what does it actually look like? What are the pros and cons? How much time in it? I think we can do it. I think we're as good as anybody in the world at what we do. So I think we could do it, but what are the risks if we put too many of our eyeballs on that, and we take too many eyeballs off of something else? What does that look like? And could we better use our time elsewhere? So I think it's a combination of those things. We could just be doing more events locally. We could be selling more product to our existing customers. We could certainly be expanding into other areas. Like, I'm certainly intrigued about expansion in Canada. I don't know that there's another market like Toronto, but certainly the other majors, Montreal and Vancouver and Edmonton and Calgary, Ottawa even. I think there's an opportunity for upscale entertainment that I don't think they necessarily have the same access to. Like, there's some good people in those markets for
Hmm.
sure, Montreal, but I think we could do a lot of damage in those markets. So I think about that. Um, to being able to expand without dealing with cross border and Canada US relations and currency, and that intrigues me, because I'm not sure that I want all of the headache that comes with the other. And of course, always, what more, just internally, our clients are coming to us wanting to spend. So if
Hmm.
right now we offer them, I don't know, 10 things, should we be offering them 12? And if we had two more great products that we could sell to every client, that would add up really fast.
Yeah, that will
So
help you
that
scale if
yeah,
you add more to products, right?
yeah. So I'm open to scaling this way or that way. I often think we have to just go through the exercise and see what sticks. And that's kind of what we've been doing the last number of months. Um, but I am also like, every job we do is really important, and we do thousands, but
Hmm.
everyone, even the small ones, are really important. And so I think really paying the most attention to what you have in front of you is the most important. And if you have a little bit of time, thinking about what's next is also important. But
Hmm.
I think a lot of people work so hard to get there, and then when they're there, they keep going, and then the whole thing falls apart. And I feel very fortunate to have what we have, and I don't want to spend too much time. Like, I don't want to take time out of the work day when I need to focus on the events I have this weekend, the clients I have upcoming, the emails that need to be replied to, because our business is forever if we can stay great at it.
Hmm.
I don't need to grow at all. I could stay exact. Now, we've grown every year we've been in business, with the exception of COVID.
Hmm.
So naturally, I think we're going to grow, because I think we're good. Um,
Got it.
Clients keep recycling.
Yeah,
Like,
the word
on
gets out.
the wedding side of our business, like, there's always going to be weddings. And
Mm.
so we did your wedding last year. You're never going to be a client to me again, God willing. If they end up breaking up, sometimes one client becomes two new clients. Uh,
Or the
but
kids grow up.
or the kids grow up. Yeah, we do that for sure.
Yeah.
But there's always going to be a market for that, as long as you're great
Yeah.
and consistent.
The Olympics or soccer World Cup coming, is that are those opportunities for you guys? Those sporting events?
Yeah, the highest profile ones that come from other cities are often a lesser with us because our relationship is really with the teams, like specifically the Blue Jays. These days, there was a
Mhm.
time that we did a lot more with the Raptors. Although we still do Raptors and Maple Leafs, so no knock to them. But typically, like when an event like that comes, or even when like NBA All Star came or NHL All Star came, it's the league. The league takes it over, and they have their relationships that they usually bring. So
Mhm.
we end up doing some, but the excitement, the first couple of years when something big would come to Toronto, I would get really excited thinking it would be a great opportunity for us, but it really isn't because they end up, like we work on a very small scale with Golf Canada
Mhm.
on their open. And they partner at one of our partnering venues that we're really excited about, a golf facility. But even for them, like we've slowly started to learn, like they change facilities every couple of years, and they have their team that they may bring in from wherever, and that's their team.
Got
And
it.
and so like even with the World Series, like we did so much during the playoffs, and then probably less during the World Series because Major League Baseball came in and sort of takes over the building. So we still did some, and I'm grateful for what we get. But I
Mhm.
think that was a learning lesson for me that at one point it sort of tips and it goes outside of the hands of the people who we
Mhm.
speak to. Yeah.
So, city of Toronto or any other these cities put up a lot of events as well, right? They're
Yeah.
constantly putting all the events out. Are those opportunities like do you guys get involved in those opportunities as well?
Yeah, yeah. Like we do a ton of charity work, a ton of charity events. We get connected from a different charity at least 2 or 3 times a week about they're looking for for something. We do what we can. Obviously, we work with all of the city and townships. So there's different parades, festivals, speaking engagements.
Hmm.
So of course, yeah, like we're a supplier open to work with anybody. I mean, again, we have partners and venue partners and company partners that we work really closely with, but that continues to change and evolve.
Okay. Just a couple minutes. You mentioned that success with with employees. We were talking about it. So I wanted to step back and just simply just get. So what is a success looks like in a business? Is the running this operational smoothly? Is that success? Or you mentioned that you're not driven by money, but more for success of the business. So what does that look like for you and your employees? Abby?
Yeah, I think I can look back on a year and see one. I'd like to know that we did more business than the year before, so either
Mm-hmm.
higher volume or higher output. Obviously, I want to make sure that we were profitable. I want to make sure that the people were paid fairly and the people who deserved growth and had the opportunity for growth financially. Um, I think it's hard to assess, but you want a smooth sailing ship. The
Mm-hmm.
question is, it's never going to be perfectly smooth. I mean, every
Yeah.
day I deal with bumps, and
Yeah.
my staff and my wife know. Like I always say, I'm getting punched in the face every single day, but you develop thick skin and you just know that it's coming. And the hope is at the end of the year, you look back and say, I got punched in the face less this year than last year. So, as we've grown, we're continuing to make changes to have better systems and be more consistent and listen to our staff and develop programs. And it's a constant evolution because you're doing it in real time as the company it's not like
Yeah.
you're pausing the business.
Yeah.
So new challenges are coming at the same time and you're being pulled in many different directions. But I don't know if it's almost cheesy to say, but like just doing it is the success of it. Like
Yeah.
being in it and living it and doing it every day is you've won. And everyone on my team, I think, has won and are winners every day. There's not a metric that I look for.
Mm-hmm.
Again, of course I want to be profitable. I often will analyze a job based on the finances of it.
Mm-hmm.
We earned X and we spend Y, not because I'm motivated to put the money in my pocket, but ultimately I know that the money makes the company
Company has
move.
to make a money. A company
Yeah,
has to be
and
profitable.
yeah, and that's the easy, no brainer way to
Yeah.
assess. Hey, we should be doing this or not.
Yeah, we not
If
not
we
profit. It's a business, right? So you got
correct,
to be profitable at the end of the day.
if we did an event and charged $1,000 and it cost us 1,100 to put it on, we have a problem, and we
It's not a
certainly don't want to
business.
be.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly. It's not a
yeah,
business; it's a hobby, and it's an expensive hobby.
yeah.
So again, not being motivated by it. And I once said to one of my staff members, I said, "You're not motivated by money," and he got a bit offended.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not saying you don't want money. I know you want money and I know you want to buy things, and so do I. And I know you want to put away and I know you want to have for your family, but that's not why you're getting up in the morning. Because
Mm.
if that was the case, then again, I think I could go and work anywhere and sell anything and make a lot of money. I think I'm great at sales and I'm great with people. but that's not the motivating factor. I also wanted, we're in a business where we can do something special and help people and make people happy and be a part of celebrations. And why wouldn't you want to spend every day like that?
Yeah, 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 definitely. I talk to a lot of business owners, Abby, and one of the items they talk about is policy and all that government and the city policies. Do you think those help you some shape or form, or are they working against you? What are your thoughts? And I'm always finding that people say, "Hey, listen, it looks like it's not easy to build a business in Canada. There's so many red tape, so many hoops you got to go through, whether in an employment side or on a business side. There's so many you got to jump through hoops to build a businesses in Canada. So how's your experience been dealing with this red tape and policies?
I don't think I've had that experience. I don't find that I've had any red tape to jump through. I mean, there's natural things like business licenses and WSIB and insurance and obviously there's policy. Like when I need to know how many days off my staff are supposed to get, I can go on to the website and see based on how many years they've been there, and if I know how much severance somebody is due or all those things. Doesn't really bother me, and I can't imagine that that's not the case in some capacity everywhere.
Hmm.
So I have no problem with it. There's nothing really that stands out. I mean, I guess during COVID, policies would come in place that would seem wacky and it would affect us for better or for worse. But I would
Yeah.
also say, like, yeah, these politicians are just human and they were dealing with it in real time the same way we were.
Hmm.
There wasn't a blueprint for it. But day to day, I don't think about it at all. Um, if the government decided to pass a new policy that meant I had to have certain particular testing or particular insurance or whatever it might be, then we would just go with the flow. And if it's happening to us, it's happening to our competitors and our industry. And I have no issues
Yeah, you
on
figure
that
out
front.
as you go along. It's that's what
Yeah,
business is about, right? You figuring out as we process.
yeah. And I think like do your due diligence and know what you're signing up to. But like we don't get involved in. I don't think I've ever applied for a government grant. I, I've never had a handout. And so in some ways that's good, right? Like I just
Yeah.
very much
Yeah, you don't have to give anything back, so you
correct.
control your destiny.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about your journey, Abby. What you were doing before you started a business. Let's talk about how you got interested in building this business. If you talk about your background and walk us through your journey.
Yeah. Well, this company started really as a DJ company, and it started as a company because I was a DJ. So I started DJing when I was 15, and I worked for somebody else for 9 years. Um, while I was doing that, I developed a passion for artist management. Um, when I was young, I managed a group of dancers that sort of just kind of, friendship that fell in my lap. And I wasn't very good at it, and they'll tell
Mm.
you that for sure, but I really, I really liked it. Um, and I sort of liked the balance between performing myself, although there was times I wasn't that good at that either, and working with other talent, and helping develop them. And so when I finished university, I went to Ryerson for radio and television. I launched this company, and it was supposed to basically be a combination of both providing DJ work and representing talent. And that it quite literally started in the basement of my mom's house, and has grown from there. Um, but that's sort of the basis of what it was. And I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or so, we shifted the entertainment to be as much about live music as it was about DJ. So it's those two components sort of drive the entertainment side of our business. We had a management company as an umbrella company to Soul Power, which I've since closed, but managing talents, both DJ and on the music side all over the world, which I really liked, but I didn't find that I was as good at it as I am this.
Mhm.
So at one point I just wanted to keep my energies, keep my eyes on the prize. I've been in the nightclub business. I've been in the restaurant business. I've been in the
Did you own them, or were you operationally
yeah
running them?
yeah both.
Mm.
And
Interesting.
I own a DJ school, which was the first of its kind in Canada, which was never overly profitable, but really was a passion of mine. And I thought like one of the more interesting things that I had ever done. I really enjoyed that for a number of years. That has since closed. Um, Again, managing talent was a really big piece of the puzzle. Monetarily, I was never able to do as well there as I was with Soul Power. And when I lost a little bit of the love for it, I thought, well, if I'm not earning the way I want to earn, and now I don't love it as much, it just doesn't make sense. So I graciously walked away from a few projects, and I still dabble with it, but more as an advisor.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want to manage any artist, and you work for an artist and you're working for their livelihood. I don't want that responsibility, but I do have artists that I consult with and I help and advise and would just like to see them be successful. And I have no skin in the game monetarily anymore, which is really nice. But yeah, that's sort of my background is started as a DJ, and that's primarily what I was for for the first 15 years.
So DJ for weddings and stuff. What do you were DJing?
Both. I did
Nice.
like a big part for me was like weddings and private events and social events, and that was a huge piece to my puzzle for a long time. And I was in the nightclubs for a number of years. Again, I was never great at it. I think I probably did better than my skill set. I was really good at like convincing people to hire me and appearing as if it sounded really good. But when I spent time in social circles with really good DJs, I realized, wow, I'm really not very good. Like it was, and I remember when people used to tell me how good I was, I used to think, wow, they really don't know what good really is in this space. Probably when I started the DJ school,
Hmm.
and I really got to spend a lot of time with like true world-class DJs, which we have a lot of in Toronto. A lot of my really close friends are world-class DJs, and like it was no comparison. I'm like, these guys are so
Wow.
much better than me, but I did fake it pretty well for a long time, and so that was fun.
Yeah, but you good at management side of things. You circle.
Yeah, yeah. I think that part I was good again because I like working with people and I'm good with people, and there was a few formulas that were missing when we were doing management, and ultimately it also just comes down to like how much, if you're managing talent, how much is the talent earning? You could
Mm.
manage the best artist in the world, but if they're only earning $20,000 a year and you get 10% of it, it's a tough way to make a living. Like you do the math. Like I had one act that one year did 4 million,
Okay.
and I think we were getting, I think we were
Can you
10%,
change that as well
13%.
in a market if somebody's earning subs, the one amount? Is there a way to encourage it to get to the different levels?
Can you change how much they're making or how much
Yeah,
you're making?
they're
How
making.
much? Yeah, like listen, like to me, good management is a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear managers talk about it all the time. The fact that a manager is earning 10% often to me is crazy, especially at the startup stage. At the startup stage, you should be 50-50 partners, the way somebody in a business and a business owner and a chef would be partners in a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but listen, the artist would say, you put in all the work now and you make a little bit of money. But if I ever, really hit, then you do well. I think what we've started to see in that space is when artists really blow up, they actually don't want to pay management contracts anymore. And so somebody
Wow.
who's like a
Okay.
world-class talent who maybe is earning 100 million a year says, I don't want to pay 10% to my manager. Why would I pay $10 million when I could just put someone on salary for 400,000? For
Mm.
400,000, you can get anybody, right? 400,000, you get a creme de la creme um, business advisor. And so why would you pay 10 million? Now the manager would say, well, but I was getting $2,000 a year back when you were only making 20 and we
Yeah,
were on this journey together.
it's
So to me,
partnership. Mm.
as long as it works on both sides, like if the manager wants more upfront, then they have to be willing to take less if and when it hits.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you would say if you really believe in your artist, that wouldn't be very wise if you did the math. But again, I hear artists all the time talk about how hard it is to find a manager, and I say, well, you're earning $50,000 a year, so how hard is someone going to work for you for $5,000 a year? Because they're only getting 10%. Or if they're working for you for $5,000 a year, how many artists do they need so that they can earn a living? They need
Yeah.
25 artists.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, how much time are you getting? So it's a bit of a challenge on both sides. Like until there's money in
Yeah.
the pot, it's a very difficult thing. And we had great artists we
Mm.
worked with that earned no money. And then, probably one for sure, just trying to think, maybe just the one, like the one main act that I worked with at one point, after many, many years, started to earn significantly. Like I said, I think they did about 4 million one year. So that was really, you know, very
But
profitable.
Toronto is known to produce a lot of artists, right? We are, is that right? Is already a
It,
big market for that?
in the last number of years, in the last 10 years, certainly before that, in the first 20 years of me working in this space, it was the opposite. It was how soon can I get out of Toronto to get to New York or LA?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's changed because we've had, a few world-class pieces of talent. So now, people don't think like that. Like a young artist wouldn't think that way anymore, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's still, you're talking about how many people become Drake or Justin Bieber or The Weeknd? Like,
Yeah.
you're talking about, you could buy a lottery ticket every day and have a better chance of being rich if you want to be rich
Yeah.
than just saying I'm going to be the next Shawn Mendes or the next, whomever. It's just not, it's not realistic. But look, there are lots of ways to earn money as an artist outside of just becoming a big rock star.
But do we have an environment to produce those artists, Abby, in a Toronto area? Like, do we have all the resources and what it takes to
so.
produce artists?
To me, it's about the hub. You need people working here, collaborating in all the different spaces. So producers, directors, engineers, studio owners, musicians. If the really talented pool of people are here, which right now I think they are, then I think it's fine. And I guess maybe it depends on also the lane of music, right? Like maybe a country artist would say otherwise. Like if you're not in Nashville, you don't have a chance. Maybe I don't know. I've never worked in that space.
Got it.
But yeah, I think we have a lot of resources. I think we have a lot of government tools and funding that can help. And I'm sure every artist would complain and say they wish there was more.
Yeah.
Every time I speak to an artist, I say the government's never given me any money for my craft.
Yeah.
So if they're giving you $50,000 to shoot a music video, I'd say you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, very interesting. So let's talk about your early days in the DJs. If somebody is there in the same place, Abby, right now, they're trying to figure their way out. They're trying to get to. What would you say? What can they do? How could they avoid some of the, save some of the time, avoid some of the mistakes, and follow a similar footprint and get to where you're at, running and building companies. Any advice you will leave for those guys?
Yeah, I've always said the same two things. One, the simplest piece of business advice in any area is just be great. The majority of people are not. I think if you can just be great in whatever it is you do, however it is you do it, and whatever lane you're in, you've already got a significant leg up because most people are not great. So figure out how to be great. And then I would say, similar to my other comment about I'm in the entertainment business, but 99% of my work is business. I think a lot of people spend 99% on their craft. And the craft only gets you so far. It's like the reason most restaurants fail is because they're run by great chefs. And the reason most hair salons fail is because they're run by great barbers. And the reason most gyms fail is because they're run by great personal trainers.
Same as dentists.
Correct. They're all great. They're all great at their craft.
Yeah.
But they haven't spent enough time being great at business. And like I said earlier, I don't think my business is special or different. So I think you have to be great at business. And the same way in anything else. It's like, okay, well, how do I do that? Like take a course, read a book, ask a question, take someone for coffee, watch this podcast. I don't know, like,
yeah,
the resources are there to do it. But I think that's the big one is like, I think I spoke to somebody today who was a great DJ and just has done nothing because they're spending so much of their time thinking about the next piece of DJ equipment and some really interesting mix and how to join a pool for new music, but they haven't spent nearly enough time on the business, versus like, one of my closest friends is a music artist, and he made this shift a few years ago where he spends way more time marketing himself and thinking about TikTok and social media than he does writing songs. And he can write a great song in a day. So if you can write a great song in a day, why are you spending a month writing it? When the reality is you need to spend that amount of time within the landscape of your field conducting business. And so he's seen tremendous success since then. And I think that's the model that most people need to follow. Nobody wants to do that. Everybody would love to just like write a song and then like Usher discovers you and you're on the Grammys and you're living, on a yacht. It's just so unrealistic. And then the only other small piece, I just think all business is relationship driven. Yeah. And I think part of the reason that I haven't felt the urge to dive into some of these other markets, like we talked about before, is I don't have relationships there. And I would just be a guy knocking on your door, as opposed to here, the people in our space know my company, they know me, they know we're great, they know we're trustworthy, they know we're honest, they know we're professional. And I think relationships is really important. And you can never start making relationships early enough. So that would be my practical piece of advice.
Very good. Yeah, no, definitely, I think so. You're right on, definitely relationships are key, but personal branding, a lot of them
drink lots of water.
Drink a lot of water.
Drink lots of water.
A lot of people in my space, I always tell them, listen, these days, but there's so many research out there that, personal brands are much bigger than professional brands, company brands these days. So you got to get out and talk about what you do. And even in my space, a lot of people, a lot of software developers, a lot of techie people, they want to do a lot of tech work, but don't want to get out and talk to people and build the companies, right? So I think you're
or like know what you're good and bad at. There's also
yeah.
nothing wrong with, like, I've had artists that I've spoken to said, I'm really good at my craft, I'm just not good at that. And I recognizing that is so important. And then, okay, you got to find someone to work with you who is good at it, someone who can help you. And maybe it's not a high profile manager, maybe it's your mom,
Mhm.
maybe it's your sister, maybe it's your husband, maybe it's your partner, maybe, like, you know, the tools are so easy to, like, for instance, if you need to do accounting for your small business, and you can go online and find the softwares that are just meant for people who have no clue what they're doing. It's like, that wasn't always the case, right?
Somebody
10
done it
years ago.
before. Somebody have
Yeah,
done
like,
that before.
yeah, 10 years ago, it's like,
Yeah.
if you don't know how to use QuickBooks, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Like, and now it's like there are tools, forget about AI and all these things that are every day being introduced to make our lives so much easier and more sort of cost effective and time effective. But yeah, I think like the tech one is the same thing. There's guys who are great at tech and they start a tech company and they have a great end product and that no one has thought about how to sell, how to market, and just all the things. I have one supplier who always forgets to bill. It's like they do the work, but they forget to invoice. And I'm like, if you don't send an invoice, you're not getting paid. So again, like, you have a hobby, not a business.
Yeah.
And if you love it enough to just do it for the sake of doing it, that's great. But like, you're in the charity business at that point.
Yeah.
So these things, I see these things all the time.
Very interesting. Is technology changing your business any shape or form? You mentioned AI and new technology tools and stuff coming out. Are they reshaping your business, the way we run a business?
I don't know that I've quite figured it out. As these things get harder as we get older,
Mhm.
right? Things that were easy to us in one lane, and now there's a new lane. So of course I'm spending, a good amount of time with my staff talking about how can we adapt AI into our business, and really thinking out of the box. I think we're doing all we can in the sense that we're always having conversations about it.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say that we have figured it out yet.
I think everybody's
Half of,
trying to.
yeah, and half of my business is equipment, right? So you're talking
Yeah.
about, like, half my business is hardware, and so with that, it's like there is a new speaker, there is a new amplifier, there is a new, this battery can last longer or draw less power, or
Yeah.
whatever those things might be. I'm also not overly technical, to be honest with you. Like, going back to what I said before, I'm the first one to say
You
that half
have
of my
people.
business is tech, and I'm not great. So I have really great tech people who I've learned to have a really great communication with, to understand what should we be investing in,
Yeah.
how should we be investing in it, and we make some mistakes, but I think we're just scratching the surface. But I will say that we talk about it a lot, and I'm open to the conversation. I actually have a meeting tomorrow with one of my staff who has 3 AI tools that he wants me to think about implementing, and I'm like eager to have the conversation, because if he's done the work and he feels like this is something that is helpful for us, I would be ignorant to not at least give it my full
Well,
attention.
kudos to you. A lot of business owners I know, they get so intimidated by just new technology. They want to just box themselves. They don't want anyone to take a look at that. Simply.
Yeah,
So
and
that
I
works.
get it. It gets harder as you get older and you get more
Yeah.
set in your ways. But I just consistently try and tell myself, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. Like, I like my computer set up the way it is, and I like, listen, during
Don't change
COVID.
it.
The one thing during pre-COVID, we had hard files for every event we did. Like an
Hmm.
actual physical file with a printout of their contract, their information, their payment schedule. Everything was in a file. So on Fridays, when I would leave the office, if we had 30 events that weekend, I would take 30 files home with me
Wow.
in a bag. And that way, if anything came up on the weekend, somebody could call me and say, hey, what's happening with such and such? And I can open it up and say, this is what's on the file. And so only during COVID did we move everything to digital. And the fact that I had these hard files, that one, I had to carry with me, two, I had to not lose. One day, somebody broke into my car once to steal a bag, and sure enough, in the bag was all these files. But the fact that didn't live online, even as just a backup,
Hmm.
it was just something that we were forced to do with COVID. But that would be a good example of just being open to, like, we were even then 5-10 years behind. And so I really do try and be open. I think it's mostly maybe the same for everybody. It's just time. Like, if somebody presents me with something today and they say, this is going to be a great tool, but you need 10 hours to, be able to infuse it into your business. Like, who has 10 hours? I don't have 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think it's important. And there's no question that is the future. And if you're fighting it, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Very interesting. As long as you're open to look for
Yeah.
different ways. Where can people find you? How can they connect with you, Abby, if they want to have a chat with you?
For the company, it's soulpowerproductions.com.
I'll link,
Our,
put a link below the video.
Yeah,
Click-
yeah. Most of our activities on Instagram at Soulpower, it's SOLE. My socials are at Abby Tobias. I'm fairly open to communicate with people directly, and our headquarters are in Midtown Toronto, Yonge and Lawrence. I winter here in sunny Miami.
Mhm.
It's not so sunny today, but I'm here for a few months working remotely, and then back in the city, and always available.
Very nice. There's so much to learn from you. Business owners who are watching, business leaders who are watching, or listening to us on a podcast. There's so many areas we can take events. I know corporate events is one of the items. A lot of businesses that was thinking about it. How to manage some of that stuff. I will strongly recommend. Hey, listen, reach out to you for conversation. Click a link below this video. Connect with you. Who knows where the discussion is gonna go? Because while just by having a quick chat, I learned so much from you around this area. I'm sure anybody who reaches out to, they're gonna learn a lot from you as well. So
Thank you.
strongly recommend here. Click the link below. Reach out to you, have a conversation, and hopefully something good for both of you guys, and then go from there.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for time, Abby. Hopefully, I will talk soon in the future.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All the best.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.